advising clients across the country. Here he is, your host, J. Christopher Boyd.
Welcome. This is Something More with Chris Boyd. I'm Chris Boyd, certified financial planner practitioner, and my office is Asset Management Resources. We're a registered investment advisor firm, and our show is a financial show. We call it Something More because we like to talk about not only those important dollar and cents issues, but also those quality of life issues that make the money matters matter. Joining me throughout the show today, I've got Jeff Perry as my co-host today. Thanks for being with me, Jeff.
Always happy to join you, Chris.
So we have plenty to talk about, but coming up later this hour, we're going to be joined by Doug McDonald of Murray McDonald Insurance Services, riskadvice.com. They are great. Doug is great for talking about what sort of things to remember when it comes to property and casualty. And I think this is one of those areas of financial planning that is really important, but we don't always put the same energy and attention to. We talk about risk. We talk about estate planning. We talk about risk. We talk about portfolio management, asset allocation. We talk about risk. We talk about sometimes long-term care or life insurance, stuff like that. But property and casualty is something, type of coverages that people have all the time. And just auto or homeowners or renters or whatever it might be. But there's a lot to learn, a lot of components. And anyway,
it's real easy to make
it be heavy. It just, there's things you got to remember. And
it's so easy to make a mistake on this stuff. I was just talking to my granddaughter. She was here for a visit, and she's of the age, turning 16. So she's going to get her permit. And
that's exciting. Wow.
For her, yeah. But the rest of the world, I don't know. But
look out, everybody.
So I was just, talking to her about cars, and maybe she needs to get a part-time job and all this. And she insurance, kind of explaining insurance and the whole process. And so many, not just young people, this just reminded me of it, but not just young people, but so many people when they go to get insurance, their thought is not about what happens if. It's just, I need to get insurance. And like for auto insurance, give me the minimum to get the car on the road.
Right. And not always the right way to do it.
Yeah. Or homeowners insurance. Give me what my mortgage company tells me I need. So it's real easy kind of just to assume nothing bad's going to happen and get the minimum required by somebody else. And then when something bad happens, you find yourself, sadly, sometimes with not adequate coverage.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really great point.
Doug's a very interesting and knowledgeable man, so I'm eager to hear what he has to say on these subjects, as well as I think he's going to talk about hurricane season. Here we are in July, right? We're in hurricane season.
It's getting that time, right? So he's got lots of interesting insights, so we'll get to that in just a little bit.
Great.
Before we do, Jeff, one thing that I was thinking I should probably chit chat about was had a road trip last weekend.
That's right.
Part of the time. And as much as we had a great time here on Cape Cod, I went to Pittsburgh to retrieve my daughter, and we drove back, a relaxing 13-hour drive.
Both ways. Not one way.
It was 13 hours because it was the holiday season. It was busy, and and we took an hour or so for stops for food and
I hope so,
a break. So that was 13 hours from door to door.
Oh, that
was a long day.
That's a bit much. Much. Yeah.
But it's the time of travel, road trips, and
airline.
Yep. I got on actually, you tell you what, just real briefly. This one, an airline I'm really not well familiar with, but Breeze Airways, I think it is.
Yeah, they're down here in Florida. They're in Vero Beach.
I think it's a newer one, but it was a great deal. It's like, I don't know that they go everywhere, but where they went, it was very reasonably priced. And it was a good experience, so didn't have to deal with any delays. How we've talked in the past about all the problems with travel these days.
Was this in Providence?
I went from Providence to Pittsburgh, and then we drove back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think they also fly if my memory's right, to Charleston, South Carolina, from Providence.
An interesting thing you mentioned. Yes.
It is. Yes, we're going to. We have a road trip coming up to Savannah, and Charleston's not far away. So we were contemplating whether or not we'd hit them both the same trip, but we're only going for a few days, and we don't want to try to do too much because you can put too much on the
Yeah.
schedule.
Well,
it's not
and
much.
if it's not that far away, you can always go again.
That's right. It's a drive for us. We're in Florida, for the listeners who may not know that. I'm in Florida, Port St. Lucie. So it's about a 5-hour trip to Savannah from where we live.
Well, that sounds like a fun trip though to go to. I don't know how the driving between, like what that's like in that space between. It's like just a lot of flat nothing or whatever, but
it should be smooth, easy driving. It's 95% on I-95.
excellent.
95% on 95. Yep.
There you go. And you get your cruise control and you're good to go.
Listening to the Something More with Chris Boyd podcast.
That is an important consideration when you're on a road trip. Are you going to have a playlist? Are you going to have an Audible that you could share? Are you going to listen to some podcasts? Or
I am self-promoting, but it
yes.
does make driving much more entertaining, and it passes the time more quickly, and it's just, and you learn something. So why not? Or hear a good story.
Yeah. We actually I did two things. Along the when for most of the trip we listened to things together.
Mm-hmm.
Among those were some podcasts. Toward the very end of the trip, we're like, okay, we're getting tired.
Mm-hmm.
You listen to whatever you like. I'll listen to whatever I like. Right. So the driver got the speakers and the other person had the headphones.
Well, I'm surprised the passenger was awake. I mean, that's when you're not
that's
driving.
Another possibility too. Yeah.
If I'm not driving and it's that long, I'm checking out.
But I started enjoying a book you had recommended, From Strength to Strength, from Brooks, which was, I didn't finish it yet, but I definitely will while I'm sometime on the beach in the next week or two, that kind of thing.
It's a great book for individuals who are, have had successful careers, and they're seeing that their interests change, and that's normal. You still want to be engaged in your business. You're still enthusiastic, but you find yourself focused on things that are different than you were at the beginning of your, and that's normal. And it explains that in the book.
And trying to find that balance that, so you're not purely.
That's right.
Just always on, that kind of.
Yep.
So anyway, found it very interesting. I'm looking forward to finishing it. Very much enjoyed it. That's another interesting, just maybe not substance of our content, but little digression again.
Yep.
Are you a summer reader, Jeff? Do you like to read over the summer on, like thinking beach reads and that kind of thing? Or are you generally a reader? I'm more audio books than.
I am both audio and a reader, and I will remind you that it is summer all the time where I am.
Exactly. So are you reading a lot?
I am reading. I've always been a active reader, but I am reading more than I did when I was working.
Sure.
Full time plus,
That makes sense.
Right. Yep.
Do you have a style, a genre that is your preferred when you read?
No, it's all over the place. I can read like Arthur book stuff, sociology, psychology. I can read a lot of history, a lot of political science. It's just in the moment, whatever.
Fiction? Do you read fiction?
Not much.
Yeah.
Not much.
I do like some of both. I tend to prefer those more things that are somehow either professional improvement, how to business building, or practice management type stuff, or but I also like who somebody who's talking about the politics or the foreign policy or something like that type stuff. Biographies I do tend to enjoy, but
me too.
I think it's nice too sometimes to have just something that's kind of light and fluffy, a little bubble gum kind of.
Sure, absolutely.
Just a relaxing, enjoyable story of romantic comedy or whatever it might be, or a
Well,
mystery or
let's not go
something.
too far.
Yeah, some of these, it's something that's just fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in any case, well, it's that time of year. If you have some suggestions for us, again, whether it's for good reads or for our topics of discussion, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to us through our email address, radio@amrfinancial.com. We also have some social media that you could connect with us through. Jeff, you want to share some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're on everywhere but TikTok, I think is probably
Yeah,
the best way to say that. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, and kind of my not new favorite, because I've been on YouTube for a long time and checked things out, but a lot of the show content, a lot of the webinar content, something more.
We are putting the Something More with Chris Boyd show on
Yeah.
YouTube as well.
So there's a lot on YouTube, and I think more and more people, when they're looking for a subject or discussion on a subject, are either going to a podcast or going to YouTube to watch a video. I know any home repair that I'm not positive about, I'm on YouTube. And, if I'm interested in a subject, I'm on YouTube. So I'd suggest, if you haven't checked out our page on YouTube, start there and you'll see a lot of great content. And before you know it, it'll be 6 hours later.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Happens,
So
right?
true, right? Yeah, and just one other thing, if you want to send us, communicate with us, either for a consultation or for an idea, or all the things we've been talking about, you can also connect with us by text. And that's an easy way to reach out with a short little message, 508-915-3700. So in any case, all of that was not what we were planning to talk about right away. You had some information about some scams, huh?
Some scam, and it's a new scam. That's why, we can make whole shows of all the scams out there, and I think people hear about a lot of them. And a lot of IRS scams, not that the IRS is a scam, that's another show, but
Yeah.
a lot of IRS related scams. And in the past, the best advice talking about potential IRS scams has been, the IRS does not call you at home. The IRS does not email you. So if they call you at home or email you, it's a fraud. They send their correspondence through the mail. And so there you go. So I guess not only are people trying to avoid being scammed aware of that, but so are the scammers. So the latest IRS scam, guess how it comes? It comes in the mail.
U.S. Postal Service. Well, that is mail fraud, and that is a federal offense.
Well, I guess they're willing to take the risk.
Yes.
And so the IRS released this past week information on a new scam that's being mailed out to taxpayers. And it actually comes in what appears to be an IRS masthead, return address, and it's a letter saying it's a notice in relation to an unclaimed refund that you were entitled in a given tax year. And so what they're asking you to do is to fill out all this information, including, all of your tax information,
your
meaning
Social
your social
Security.
security number, your address, your date of birth. And they're really going out on a limb, but I guess if you believe this is a tax refund, you're going to do it. They're asking for a clear copy of your driver's license to indicate that it's you, taken at 4 angles in good lighting.
Wow.
And, so it all seems to be, and that information is sent away back to the scammer, who now has your everything that. And so the advice, of, if it, the IRS is not going to call you or email you, they're going to mail you, is not actually true now, because some scammers, or this latest scam, is mailing you. So the IRS goes on
to believe, huh?
Yep. So, this goes back to, I guess, some general advice that we've talked about on other shows. If you receive a correspondence, email, phone call, whatever, the best advice is to, pause, do nothing. And if you think it's your bank, if you think it's the IRS, if you think it's whoever it is, don't engage with however they've communicated with you.
Yeah.
Go back
directly a different way. Yeah.
Right. So, for example, the advice with a credit card or a debit card is to hang up on the call, or don't believe the email. Look at your actual credit card. Look at the phone number on the actual credit card, and then call that number and say, I think I may have been contacted, but I'm not sure, and go through the process.
Right.
So the same type of advice is good if you get some correspondence from the IRS. It doesn't make sense. If first of all, if you have a CPA, give it to them, right? Because they're gonna respond for you. But if you don't, or you think it's legitimate, don't respond certainly to an email or a phone call or even something in the mail. Get the number for the IRS, the actual number, and call them independently and tell them you received this letter. Here it is. And if it's legit, you'll be able to get that refund, or you'll be able to deal with that issue by talking to the IRS or the bank or whoever it is. But don't rely on numbers that are in emails. Don't rely on phone calls. Don't even rely on numbers that come into the mail, something in the mail that says to give them a call, because you just have to be so careful. There are so many nefarious individuals out there trying to take advantage of people who are trusting.
Boy, that's pretty unsettling. Just that it's you never know what to trust anymore.
You don't. You just have to take everything. You have to be a little suspicious about everything. And it's not, you don't want to live that way.
Yeah.
But you
do. Yeah. And when you get emails and calls and stuff, you have to be kind of a little skeptical before you respond.
Don't click links on your phone, your computer. If you want to go to a website, type it in yourself, or have a saved link that a bookmark link that is safe,
reliable.
You just have to, and go slow. There's no need to rush on these things. If you're not sure, it can wait. You're not going to lose an opportunity for a new credit card or a refund or a sale. And if you do, it's better off than having your identity scammed or gaining someone gaining access to your bank account or whatever could happen.
Well, thanks for bringing that up. I think there might even be other scams we can come back to at another time.
You're listening to Something More with Chris Boyd, Financial Talk Show.
Asset Management Resources, LLC, and J. Christopher Boyd, CFP, provide investment advice on an individual basis to clients only. Proper advice depends on a complete analysis of all facts and circumstances. The information given on this program is in the nature of general financial comments and cannot be relied upon as pertaining to your specific situation. AMR, LLC cannot guarantee that using the information from this show will generate profits or ensure freedom from loss. Listeners should consult their own financial advisors or conduct their own due diligence before making any financial decisions.